I promise that someday soon we will make a video that's not medical.
About you being sick?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do like a fun day out vlog.
Yeah, I mean, I assume I'll get better. I am a little bit better. I'm doing a little bit better.
Yeah, marginally.
We're still in the thick of it, but I am slightly improving.
I'm not seeing the improvement, but if you feel it internally, that's really all that matters, isn't it?
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Today's video is about why I am not going to the doctor.
Mm-hmm. Is it about like in this case, or is it like by principle you won't go to the doctor?
In this case.
In this case.
But also like kind of as a, as a principle.
Yeah.
I don't go to the doctor unless I need to go to the doctor. And that threshold is very different for me than most people.
Oh, yes.
I think.
I don't even want to know what would like cause you to go to the doctor.
Let's talk about that. All right. So first I want to talk about like why I'm not going to the doctor. And the main reason is I have a strong aversion to going to the doctor based in fear that going to the doctor means my illness is out of control. I am no longer able to handle it on my own, and in that way, I may not make it. I know that's a lot.
Sorry, we're taking a coughing break. Do we remember where we were?
Yeah, well, generally, in my earlier childhood, there were many times when I would get sick and I would go to the doctor, because that's what your parents do when you're a kid. And the doctor would say, I think you might have pneumonia, you should go to the hospital. And as a kid, the hospital was hell. As an adult, the hospital was hell. It always felt like it was a decision being made out of my control. Like I was being sent there to my version of hell, and I had no say in the matter. As I got older, that changed. But I think it's that kind of like letting go of control that like is really hard for me. Mm-hmm. And like accepting that I am too sick to handle it. Mm-hmm. And for this illness, so far, I am not too sick to handle it.
And I think another thing you've talked about is like when you're at the hospital, their protocol can make it difficult for you to do what you feel like needs to be done.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that Shane is doing is like laying down on his back, laying down on his side, getting up in his chair, like every, at least once an hour, like doing that, to like move stuff around. And when he was in the hospital, they would like mandate that he stayed in bed.
Yeah.
And they're like, we can like tilt the bed up for you, but like you have to stay in bed, and Shane can't cough in that position. So like that kind of a thing is just better handled at home, and we do have all the tools here that so far have been fine. Right now I'm thumping Shane's chest, and did you read this somewhere, or is it like that humming helps?
This is my own medical breakthrough invention.
Shane invented that humming helps, so.
It does, I think it does.
This is what I've been listening to almost nonstop for 5 days.
I have a distinct memory of being like 9 or 10, and I went to the doctor because I was sick, and they were like, we think you have pneumonia, you have to go to the hospital. And I was like, no, and they were like, yeah. I began to cry. This is definitely the moment when I decided I'm never going to the doctor again.
Yeah.
But I was a kid, so I didn't really have a say. And I was taken to the hospital, and they admitted me. And they said, for you to be here, you have to have an IV. And I was like, I don't need an IV. I'm drinking fluid fine. Like, I'm fine. And they were like, no, it's like protocol. You have to have an IV. So I am a very difficult IV stick. My veins are small, and they move.
Even just to get any blood at all, you're difficult,
And we explained that to them, and they were like, well, we know what we're doing. They didn't. Well, they did, but they didn't know how difficult I was. And they began trying to get an IV in my hand and my wrist, and they began sticking me, and it wouldn't go in. I was bleeding, and they moved to a different vein, and that didn't work. They moved to my other hand, and I think I'm like hysterical at this point, like screaming, and I'm watching them do it, and they stick a vein, and it shoots blood out like into the air, and that horrified me. I was like, oh, I'm bleeding out, like I'm dead, not gonna make it. They couldn't get it. They gave up. They were like, we're gonna send you to your room, and then we'll send another like IV tech to see if they can do it. And at this point, I was like, just like kill me.
Yeah.
And I didn't say that as a 10-year-old, but they tried again later that night. They were like, hey, we know that you're like watching your cartoons and having your mashed potatoes and like getting cozy ready for bed. We're gonna
Ruin that.
end that. And they did another like hour of digging for a vein. Finally, they got one. And we all rejoiced and celebrated. And about an hour later, that vein blew, which is painful.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And so they had to find a new one.
Oh my god.
I'm like thinking about it. I'm
Yeah.
like, no. I'm not joking when I say that like avoiding an IV is like a big part of not wanting to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember when you did your Spinraza injections, they like required an IV. And when we got to the hospital, you were like, I will not be doing that. And they were like, you have to. And you were like, no, I'll go home. And they checked with a bunch of people being like, can he get this like done without an IV? And finally the doctor, I think doing it was like, it's fine. He doesn't need an IV.
No, I'll go home.
You don't have any sort of sedation. Like there wasn't really any reason for you to have an IV.
Yeah.
But you avoided it, which was very impressive. They were like, no one knew what to do.
Another thing I want to talk about is like many of the comments we've been reading lately are saying to Hannah, like, take him to the doctor. Hannah, do you want to address that?
That's not something that that's not appropriate. I don't even know what the hospital staff would do if I brought someone in, like an adult, against their will. I feel like no one would accept that, and that would be a big violation of Shane's autonomy and personhood. So it's his choice.
I will say Hannah has been encouraging me.
Yeah.
I mean, not lately.
At times.
Like earlier this week when I was really, really bad.
Well, you were like, I think I have pneumonia. I was like, well, if it's bacterial, like you can just get antibiotics. Like, shouldn't we be going to get antibiotics?
Yeah. And
then Shane just didn't want to deal with that. And he was like, let's just see. And I do think it wasn't, because the initial sickness is gone and this is just lingering phlegm. So.
And I don't want people to think that I'm like doing this dangerously.
Yeah.
Like we're monitoring my oxygen level.
Yeah.
If it dipped too low, or if I felt like I couldn't breathe effectively, or if I had a big fever, like, I would go to the doctor. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't be happy.
I feel like you checked most of those boxes over the last few days. Not the oxygen levels, but like, you've definitely been like, oh my God, I feel like I can't breathe, and you had a fever. And I was like, should we go to the doctor? And you were like, no, let's just see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes if I have like one thing that I'm like, this might be doctor worthy, I'll say in my head, like, I'll give it a day and then I'll go.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the doctor. Yeah, it's like, and I'm not like, I for other people, I'm not anti-doctor.
No, yeah.
Like when Hannah gets a sniffle, I'm like, do you want to go get that looked at? Like, I'm not anti-doctor in medicine.
Mm-mm. Just anti-doctor for you.
Yeah, and I know it's dumb. I know probably one day it'll bite me in the butt, but...
No, because you've been right, and you are very in tune with like the minutia of your body. Like Shane will be like, "There's phlegm in my bottom right lung," and at the beginning, I honestly was like, "Sure there is." Like, okay, sure there is.
There's some in my middle right lung right now.
Middle right lung, but the rumbles are where they are, and you trace it up.
Put your ear on my chest.
Yeah, he knows exactly where stuff is, and he knows how to get it out, and it's been very impressive. So I'm not worried.
You can say more if you want about how good I am.
Very good and very brave. Yeah.
Would you say that I'm the kind of person that needs attention and babying when I'm ill?
Well, you said that about yourself on your Instagram post.
I want to know your perspective.
Yes, I do think that.
Yeah.
I do think that. 100%.
I like to be told I'm a good boy.
And you like to be, like, I'm not even sure if you want me to be like, you'll be fine, or if I should be like, oh no.
I want you to be like, here's a blankie.
Yeah.
Here's a pop.
Like, you don't want to be encouraged, because when you're like, I think you just want me to be like, oh, it's okay,
Yeah.
here's a blankie. You want a popsicle?
Yeah, I just realized, do we have any?
Yeah.
What kind?
I think they're like the red, white, and blue ones.
No.
What kind did you want?
A push-up pop.
We don't have those. I can run to the store and
I
get
need to
you.
go to the hospital. You know
They
what
might have a
there
push-up pop.
in the cafeteria.
Well, Shane is slowly on the mend, so that's
Yeah.
our update.
Maybe
Not
by
great.
Monday we'll have a non-medical blog.
I doubt it. I don't think we're going to be moving much. But, yeah, hopefully on Monday we'll post a different kind of video.
As I talk.
But something very exciting is happening today. I'm watching
yeah.
people move something into our basement. But I'll keep it a secret for now so that we have something to talk about on Monday. Maybe that'll be our video on Monday.
All right, everyone. I'm gonna get
Shane's
off.
got to go.
Bye.
Bye.